What's up, everybody? It's Mover, and I know you're probably sick of hearing of Top Gun Maverick. Just kidding. Nobody's sick of hearing of Top Gun Maverick. Today, we're going to do a spoiler review with Wombat to get his review, and then I watched it again, so I've got stuff to add. We're not going to do Mover Ruins movies, so if you want Mover Ruins movies, wait until it comes out on digital. Then I'll do a breakdown of some of the flying scenes and stuff like that. But this is just kind of a big picture discussion on the movie itself with spoilers. This video and all the Top Gun Maverick videos brought to you by Thrustmaster, a great company that I've partnered up with. But they make peripherals like the F-18 stick and the Thrustmaster Warthog, which is what I used in all the DCS videos and Microsoft Flight Sim videos. Great company. If you want to get 20% off, check in the description for a discount code that is valid for the entry level control system that you can use. If you're just trying to get used to it, you're not quite sure if you want to do flight sims or stuff, it's a great entry level stick that really works out really well. So anyway, after that, we've got our resident Mustang driver.
Are you ever going to use
of Trees in Flight? No, I'm not. Forever. The more you complain, this fighter pilot rules. The more you complain,
I think you're just garage jealous is what it boils down to.
I am garage jealous. I wish I had a garage like you do. Mine is not good at all. Okay, so spoiler alert, for the love of God, if you haven't seen the movie, please do not watch this video because we're going to spoil it. So I'm going to give this 69 second top-down overview. Wombat, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. I just watched this movie again. So Top Gun Maverick is the story of a captain, Navy captain, not Air Force or Army, which people get confused about that, who has been in the Navy for 30-something years.
Correct.
He's the only one with 3 air-to-air kills as of this movie. He has flown in every major conflict, including Desert Storm, OIF, OEF, everything. He's done shore duty. He's got a sea daddy named Iceman, who makes sure he gets all the good assignments, even though he screws up a lot. And as the movie begins, we cut from a really awesome scene that they shortened too much, which I'll talk about here in a minute. We go, he's a test pilot flying a Navy plane that needs to go hypersonic for some reason. And he pushes it too far. It blows up. He doesn't die for some reason. And somehow his sea daddy gets him into this top secret mission where they have to bomb a uranium enrichment facility that is going live. But to do that, he's got to get this crack team of Top Gun graduates that are at the top of their game to teach them how to bomb this facility because it has SAMs and 5th gen fighters they've got to worry about and Tomcats. And so he has to train them up. But lo and behold, one of the students is Rooster, who is the son of Goose. And that is bad because for some reason they have a thing against each other because he didn't want him to go to the academy as a dying wish to his mom. And then so Rooster's all pissed off and there's drama. And then there's this dick named Hangman that's just a mean girl that doesn't want anybody to succeed. And then they train. Maverick gets in trouble because one of the girls crashes the jet because she doesn't know how to do boldface or step 1 in the Air Force, maintain aircraft control. She just gives up and they have to jump out. And then he gets removed, but then he steals a jet, proves that he can do it. They do no further training. Then they go off to the desert or to the snowy ice caps and execute the mission with Maverick in the lead. And lo and behold, they're shot down. And then Rooster sacrifices his jet. They get shot down together. They steal an F-14. They fly out of bad guy land. Hangman saves the day. They all hug on the flight deck. And then he flies a P-51 to retirement. Questions?
No.
Is that accurate? Did I get everything? And there's Penny Benjamin. She's in there too. She is there for exposition purposes.
I liked it. There's things I wish they focused on more. There's things I wish they'd focused on less. Overall, I thought it was a good movie for an entertainment value. Yes. I even found myself watching it like, oh, that's not realistic. And then I had to remind myself it's fiction. It's entertainment.
That's true.
Which is funny because in the world of what we do, we get a lot of reviews that way where it's like, that's not realistic. It's like, well, it's fiction. It could be whatever it wants to be. So I like that. I like that they focused on some deeper things that other military flying movies don't focus on. In other words, and you've touched on this with your channel, with the things that pilots all deal with, whether we admit that we deal with them or not, whether I personally don't think there's a pilot out there that doesn't deal with it in some way, but all of the stuff that comes with this job, the apprehension, um, the call it survivor's guilt. Some pilots have PTSD. I'll throw that out there. I don't necessarily think I do, but those things all come into this movie in very subtle ways, which I like, because they usually don't get any airplay. And the reason they don't get airplay is because none of it's sexy, right? I mean, none of that stuff is sexy. Sexy is pulling G's, doing the Cobra maneuver, doing a roller down to the deck with their fuel dumps on, or whatever they did. That
through
is
the deck.
That is sexy. That's what the people want to see. But all these other things I think are really good that they put in there, because it gives it depth, and it gives it validity, not only to the people that have done it, but also to the people that understand, the families and stuff like that. So I do like that. The Dark Star stuff, nah.
Well, hold on.
Take it or leave it.
So the second time I watched it, the Dark Star stuff. First of all, I've been playing the Microsoft Flight Sim on the Xbox. Thanks to Microsoft for sending me the Top Gun Maverick edition.
Still waiting for mine to show up. Any day now,
thank you. Here's what I'll say about that. The premise is stupid, but the execution was awesome.
Don't disagree with you.
The whole idea of Maverick doing that, not the greatest. However, as a scene, it was really good. And the details of them going with the skunkworks, the little skunkworks thing on the stick, all that stuff was really cool. And I really appreciate it. And the second time you watch it, you start to pick out little details and stuff, especially, now that I'm a Dark Star pilot on Microsoft Flight Sim, I kind of understand these things. Yeah, kind of a big deal. I passed the challenge. Nice. So I went, and flew it Mach 10. But I thought it was cool. However, here's what I'll say. And this is, we're kind of going to be all over the place. It's not going to be as structured. First of all, before we get into any criticisms, I'm going to say I like this movie. And when I say 6.9, that's good. That's still my review, but it's 6.9 out of 8. I think it's still a really good movie. I think it's a good movie, and it was entertaining, and I was entertained as I walked out and, blasting Danger Zone as I leave the theater. The thing is,
waiting for the tow truck to come pick up your Hellcat. Was that? Hey, if you're making fun of Shelby's,
that's true. That's valid. Yeah, it's valid. So, but the thing is, it could have been better in a lot of ways. And I look at this from two perspectives. I look at this as a fighter pilot, that I've done this, but then I also look at it as a writer and somebody who has kind of done a lot of film study, if you will, in kind of what we're doing. So that's the first thing I'll say about the Dark Star thing. That's where editing comes into play, because the very opening scene is awesome, right? It's the nostalgia and stuff. But if you notice, it's rushed. And that's what kind of bothered me, because if you compare it to the first one, there's this big buildup, and then the JBD comes up and locks, and there's that big noise. So, it locks, and then we get Danger Zone. This was like they played it 4 times speed, and then we got right into Danger Zone, and then there. And that goes back to the first review where I said the Hornet doesn't have the screen presence. But that's because it didn't have the buildup. It didn't get the buildup. And then my biggest complaint, and I don't know if they did this intentionally or not, they may have. That might have been their point. But it is such a jarring stop to that scene, right? Because the first movie, we throw them off the cat, and then all of a sudden we're operational. We're mission. This one, it's like all this buildup and then nothing. We're Tom Cruise coming out of his trailer, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, he's in an Airstream. He lives in that hangar. I didn't notice that till the second time I watched it. So everybody's like, how does he afford it? He lives in a trailer in a hangar. That's how he affords a P-51. I mean, the guy's he's a hobo. I mean, he's a rambling man. So I think what would have been better in that case is if you had to have the Dark Star scene, make that either a prologue or an epilogue. Really can't be an epilogue because it sets up the whole movie. I would have rewritten it. But if we have to have it, it's a prologue.
Put it first.
Yes.
Then do the intro scene.
Yes. Yes.
That would
So
be
as soon as it
awesome.
cuts to black after he explodes, then do the Danger Zone intro and the Top
like
Gun
that.
intro, because now it's the movie. And so we go from there, and then you have to add a scene. You add the scene because this movie was heavy on exposition. It was a lot of, as a writer, show don't tell, right? Remember the whole, we want to show, we don't want to put a lot of dialogue. We don't need exposition for everything. But Top Gun, for everything except for Maverick, is exposition. Like Miles Teller's backstory, Rooster. It is a lot of, oh, well, you'll run him out of gas if you wait for him. Well, show me this. I don't need all this in khakis at the bar talking about how he's like, that next scene should have been Miles Teller in a jet doing something that made him shake his confidence, which is why he's Meemaw the rest of the movie.
Agreed.
Like, we don't ever really see why he's like that.
We just assume he's like that because he's been rattled because of what Maverick did on his application to the Naval Academy, which if he's still that rattled,
he is
as a Super
that's
Hornet
10 years
Top Gun
ago
graduate.
Yeah. So I think that's what's missing. And it seems like, and people keep saying, well, we needed the Dark Star to show Maverick as a Maverick. Do you know how many times we show Maverick as a Maverick throughout the rest of the movie?
All of it.
I think we don't need to bash somebody over the head with this information.
Yeah.
Like, you can kind of feed it to them and not be like, well, look, Maverick's a Maverick. He stole a Dark Star and, went Mach 10.2 and blew it up, which, by the way, if we do get into Moverrunes movies, two things. One, he's dead. Two, he's like pink mist dead. Yeah. And two, even if he does survive, he just crashed the only prototype for the hypersonic thing. Like, they're talking to him after going, well, I hate to do this, but I'm going to give you your dream shot. And it's like, no, dude, no, it's over. Like, he's like, you just gave all these people hope. Like, he actually said that. He goes, you gave all these people hope by doing that. Hope for what? He crashed. He blew the thing up. How many did they build? Yeah.
I like the Dark Star as a prologue. I dig that. I never thought of it that way. And then now you cut to that opening scene, which I love.
You cut to the words.
Yes, to the words, to everything. Do it just like that.
Yep.
I agree. You cut to all that, and then
cut back
after all of the beautiful carrier stuff that I thought was done well, but way too fast. Then that leads you into something with Rooster that causes to shake his confidence.
But then you go back to the diner scene, right? So, like, you spend the first 10 minutes wondering if he's alive.
Yep.
And then you go back, and then, like, we just needed to move stuff around because I think where this movie struggles is the first act. The first act of the movie takes a very long time to get buy-in. And I think that's where it lost me the first time, was I was sitting there going, what? You guys, you sped through all the good stuff, and now we're talking like second time around, I was a lot more tolerant. I wasn't hangry, so that helped.
That helps.
That helps a lot. But, the other part to that, too, is with the show don't tell thing is Hangman's character. And we've talked about this a lot. We don't know why he's a dick. Iceman was the way he was because he was by the book. He was very good at his job, and he believed that the regulations are written in blood. And that's why Maverick was like, do whatever it takes. Iceman is like, hey, no, you got to do it the right way. Agreed. And that's why they like Hangman, dude, they keep like,
he's just a dick.
I've never known anybody to fight over who the mission commander is. Guys fight to not be the mission commander. Like, he's like, I'm going to be the team lead. Like, no, you got it, bud. You got it, buddy. No. You got it. No, I insist. You are the mission commander. I'm going to sit. I'll be 4. 4's fine. 4's fine.
I'm going to volunteer for weather and NOTAMs.
Yeah. Like, I don't.
If you really want me to push, I'll work on the kneeboard card. But that's a push.
Yeah.
Because there is some actual work in that.
I don't want to be this mission. Like, I understand why they had to rename it, because I think the general public, maybe mission commander might have been too complex of a term. Sure. But I don't understand why they renumbered the formation. When they're going into bad guy land, Rooster is 2 and 4 in the back. Like, they're 2 plus 2, and it's 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. And you're like, why does he know that's not? No. But so I'll say that what I think you hit the nail on the head. What they did a great job of. You really get the feeling, number one, that they do love aviation, and I loved that the whole point of the hypersonic thing is to show that the age of man is not dead and
Agreed.
drones are not quite here yet. And I love
Agreed.
that message. I think that's awesome. And I appreciate that message because I've said that a lot on this channel. So kudos to them. I mean, execution or whatever, whether it's realistic or not, shit hot. I love that. I also loved that Maverick's whole deal is he's a dude that's I kind of agree. I'm in the same boat, right? You get to a point in your career where you're like, people think you're too old to do stuff, and you really have nowhere else to go, and you're staring at the end. You're like, I see the end. I don't know what's next. I don't know who else I am. When he says, fighter pilot is who I am, that is this profession.
Naval aviator. The way he put it, it's not what I do, it's who I am.
And that's why people have so much. That's why I've talked about this in other videos. It's you can't make your job your identity because it is toxic for yourself. I'm not saying people don't do it. I'm saying it's not good for you because when it's your only sense of identity, when you lose it, whether it be medical, whether it be a squadron closing, whether you just age out,
just time.
It is tough. So I absolutely appreciated that message, and I thought it was great. You're right. They really delved into stuff, but then when they came to story stuff, they just kind of glossed over it and they're like, okay, well, you just got to accept the fact that Rooster is pissed because he didn't get into the Naval Academy, why didn't he just go to ROTC? He wouldn't have lost a single day.
He got in.
Or
he didn't
OCS.
Lose anything. He didn't lose anything.
What did he do? Did he just say, I'm going to sit here for 4 years? No. And why did it take him 4 years? It may have cost him that there was a lot of just, you got to push the I believe button.
Yeah.
It almost felt like this script was written and then the advisors got a hold of it. And so they were like, hey, we're going to do this secret mission. We're going to go down low. And then, that's not real realistic. Okay, well, why not? Well, just put GPS jamming. So they would just add a line of dialogue and say, well, we're not going to do that because of GPS jamming. We're not they would just add a little line of dialogue to explain why and just keep moving on.
Yeah.
Versus which for the general public is fine. The Navy's not going to let them, talk about SAM engagement zones. They're not going to talk about seed and deed. They're not going to be like, well, hey, why don't we shoot a couple long range missiles at these guys? Why do we have to see them to shoot? They're not going to, I get that. It is a mover ruins movies thing, right? That's the sure. Where you get down into the weeds and go, it might be a little nitpicky, but overall, when you press the I believe button, the story works. Sure. You do have that sense of conflict. You do have that sense of, they kept the timer going, and, timers are a device in writing or at least in film to try to amp up the tension, sure. So they had to make this time thing work. And then the same thing when we lost a whole week of training. So now we can't do this. Of course they're doing that, but it just seemed like there was just a lot of exposition. And one of the things I thought actually kind of took away from stuff a little bit was the actors in the jets. That's a controversial opinion. You know why?
I don't disagree with you.
Well, you know what? You know why? Because actors in jets look like actors in jets.
Yeah.
Actors in a simulator, like in Top Gun, look more like fighter pilots than they do when they're in jets. Because I went back and looked at my GoPro from the Hornet. You don't look like you don't look like that. You don't make all those stupid faces. You're just like, oh, when you've done this job enough, you look normal in the cockpit, whether you're pulling 9Gs or whether you're pulling, 4.5 and 30 alpha. A Top Gun graduate is not going to look like that. They look to me, and that's why I think it bugged me in the first one, because I figured it out. Why does it bother me? I'm like, oh, because it looks like an incentive flyer in the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like a dude acting. It looks like an incentive flyer.
Because that's what it was.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
To the point almost so much that after I watched it, my wife and I were talking, and she goes, well, that was really weird. There was one scene where Phoenix was pulling a bunch of G's, but she didn't look like she was pulling a bunch of G's. And I was like, yeah, that was actually the most realistic of all of them, because
Yep.
that's how you would really look. Not
Yeah.
everybody pulling G's in fighters, especially after they've graduated from Top Gun, look like day one of the centrifuge.
Yeah. Yeah. And
because you wouldn't be at
I
that level of your career if it was that painful for you to pull G's.
right. And again, there's a lot of stuff too where it's kind of, they almost would have been better saying that this is the new recruit class that's, from the RAG that they had to train up or something than this, because like he's explaining G's to him. And it's like,
I didn't understand that. And
do
I
we
know
need
that
a
was for
physiology
the
class?
that
It's
was
for the
for the
audience.
sake
It's
of
for
the
the
audience,
audience.
but I don't even know if the
Yeah.
audience needed that.
So going back to just overall, I mean, so the first act struggles. The second act, again, it's much better. And then the third act really sells it for me. It is, you walk away from that movie, and I think that's why everybody loves it so much, is because you walk away from that movie just feeling good.
Yep.
You felt like it's a good movie. Honestly, I thought that the Tomcat scenes with the Su-57 looked better than some of the Hornet scenes.
Agreed.
Even though one is 100%, visual effects, and one of them is like 69% visual effects or 49% or whatever. I thought it was well executed. Now, granted, we're in 2022 and people still don't know, like, sound effects dudes. Listen to me.
Pew,
Jets
pew.
do not have 50 caliber machine guns anywhere on them. It's 20 millimeter. It does not sound like that. Please stop. Go on YouTube. Listen to 20 millimeter. That's not what it sounds like.
Nope.
But, the details in that last part, your E2 buddies. I almost wonder if they didn't do like they did. Well, I almost wonder if they didn't do like they did in Top Gun, or not Top Gun, Transformers, where they actually got a real backseat crew to do the comms.
So I still haven't been able to confirm that or not, but I've asked, and
I really think they did.
It sounds like my gut says that they did. Now, whether that crew that you're seeing physically when they're talking is the same crew, that I don't know.
I got chills.
It was very accurate. There was one mistake call, and I think they did that on purpose, because it was just, I don't think the general population would have understood how the Hawkeye would have said it. But it was essentially like, hey, the picture's clean. It's your call, is what they said. I forget the exact verbiage, but it wasn't standard comm.
Right.
But other than that,
picture clean, track south, like they had single group 4 contacts or 2 contacts, whatever it was. I mean, honestly, Tom Cruise's delivery of that line is the best in the entire movie.
Yes.
Because he does it authoritatively. Yes. He sounds like a mission commander, division lead going to war. Yep. Like, he got that right. If he got nothing else right, he got that right. That's, look cool, sound good on the radio. And he had that in that scene. And I thought that was well done. I really liked the scene with him and Rooster, the attention to detail with the Tomcat. Now, granted, would you know how to get on a Tomcat if there's no ladder? Would you have thought of getting on the tail like that? I wouldn't have thought of that.
That was interesting. I was actually thinking that real time. I'm like, how's he going to get in? I'm like, is he going to leave him? I know he doesn't leave him, because I had read some things, but I'm like,
well, and I think there's some misunderstanding too, because people are like, well, Rooster said, why are the wings moving? As if he didn't know that a Tomcat had swept wings.
Yeah.
However, I think in context, he's asking because it's not the place to bring the wings out, because the wings are folded or swept because they just taxied out.
Yeah.
Maverick makes the turn, and it's more of a reaction to, are we about to do this? Like, are we about to take off? Technique only, though. Technique only, I'd probably put the flaps down. That's just me. I don't know.
Was it a D-model with enough thrust?
He might have been able to save the nose gear had he just put the flaps down.
But then you couldn't barricade.
Well, you might have had to, because I don't think the hook would have come down. I mean, if the seat doesn't work, does the hook come down?
Does it have a
I mean,
hook? Who knows?
did he do a 6 down check? Is it 6 down? How many down is it? 5 down? How many
Why
down
is
is
it
it?
5? You got 3 landing
6?
gear and a hook. That's 4.
No, when on the ground. It
Oh,
was
no, I'm sure he didn't do that. He didn't have time.
Yeah, they didn't have time.
Um,
So I don't know. I would have put the flaps down personally. That's
That's a
just
good
me. If I'm
technique.
out
That's a
there,
good pilot technique.
there was a lot of BS. I'm going to go low and confuse his targeting radar, dude. No,
Maybe, but
no,
not like they portrayed
no,
it.
probably
Yeah.
not. No. And then the three bag Hornet saves the day.
Also,
Triple
why is
double.
there not more Hornets airborne during this whole thing?
Well, and that's the thing, dude. If you're talking realistic, you're going to have a
Oh my
whole
gosh.
seed package. You're
Yep.
going to have the E2. Like, they
Probably
needed
2
to
E2s.
explain some reason why they only could put 4 aircraft there. And I thought they were going to. I thought they were going to be like, well, we can't risk it, or, they can't know. But then they shot 100 Tomahawks at it. And it's like, well, there's no surprise now who it's coming from.
By the way, as a pilot, how comfortable would you have been with 100 Tomahawks cruising over you?
Over your
less than
noggin?
100
No way.
One of
No
those is
way.
going weird and taking out your wingman or you. Let's be honest.
But that goes back to the whole look. This movie
entertainment
could
of
have
it.
been done by an F-35.
Easily.
Like a
Easily.
4 ship of F-35s could have done this whole
Easily.
thing. A couple
But-
growlers and a package
Sure.
of F-18s. There's a reason we don't just fly with a division out there and do it. We'll bring the whole thing. And it's like Gonki and I were talking. You wouldn't take or maybe you and I were talking about this too. You wouldn't just take the Top Gun graduates to do this mission. You would take whatever squadron's on that boat and go, "Here, guys, here's your mission. Good luck." And that's it. That would be the whole thing. And they would get together and they would have probably some dudes that were just itching to shoot down a couple of C-57s.
Sure.
And that's it. Would have been a great day.
You'd have every one of those squadrons on the ship has a training officer who's been to Top Gun. They would likely be the leads.
Yep.
And they're worked up and they're current at the boat. And I mean, they didn't even send them to CQ before the mission, right? So how are they night and day current? I'm just kidding.
Top Maverick is not any kind of CQ. He's not even qualified in the Hornet. Now, granted, he is a test pilot, so they're all qualified in everything, I guess, at least in the Air Force side.
To a point.
Yeah. I mean, if he's not, maybe he got a quick NATOPS check, but
I think that's the least of our worries.
I didn't understand him throwing NATOPS in the trash can, by the way, because
that
that's all
could have
your
been
emergency procedures.
That whole scene could have been done better, in my opinion. There's a way to portray what he was trying to get across, which is, hey, the rules are out. That's what he's trying to tell you, right? The rule book does not count for this mission. We're going to have to over-G aircraft. We're going to have to do things, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
The NATOPS doesn't really cover that.
3710.
Well, not even, I mean, it would almost be like if there was a
rules.
Top Gun manual, which there is.
If only
that would have been a good.
Yeah, but now we're that's nitpicky. That's nitpicky. But I will say though, for a movie that's called Top Gun Maverick, they don't do anything with Top Gun. No. And it's not just a movieism, because in the first half of the movie, they keep telling Maverick he's going back to Top Gun. Yeah. He never once sets foot on Top Gun.
No.
He doesn't go to Fallon.
No.
He's in North Island. And they even say we're at a det at North Island. Well, if it's a det, it's not Top Gun. It's just a det. We just got these dudes and girl together, and somehow we're training at North Island, but we're not going to use San Clemente Island. We're going to use the desert. So it's a lot of back and forth, apparently. A lot of transit time.
A lot of transit time. That's why it costs $11,000 an hour to
building hours for the airline here as we get ready for this super secret mission, and all of them after went to the airlines.
Except for Bob.
Bob was the best part. Bob is the best portrayal. I mean, he's just sitting there, he doesn't get the joke because they're like, "You're a stealth pilot," and he's like, "I'm not a pilot," which good on Bob for admitting that, because there are some other that maybe are naval aviators, but never will tell you that they're not the front seat aviator types. It was a funny joke. Bob made a funny joke. That whole
Yep.
thing was a very realistic portrayal. I think the best time to go to if all right, so the mover's bathroom break, if you have a 1.0 bladder like me,
Did you take
is
another bathroom break?
oh hell yeah, dude.
Are you
Volleyball scene,
serious?
the football scene. I don't want to see shirtless
No,
dudes. Go take a
no.
leak. You're set up for the rest of the movie.
That's
Perfect
valid.
time.
That's a good
Perfect
time.
time. And then you get to see all. I will say this though, second watch, I appreciated Penny Benjamin more in this one. Except for her saying, "You took me for a ride in a Hornet before Bosnia." I don't see that one being a real thing, but I don't know how it was in the 90s because I was in grade school. So I don't know. Maybe
I don't
maybe
know,
they did.
man. They used to do weird stuff like that. I've heard stories.
But that would have been after Tailhook.
Yeah. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
I mean, that's fine. You can take people for rides or whatever. I mean, Maverick's been. Oh, you know what else was good? Maverick kicking everybody's ass. The old man raging, kicking everybody's ass.
Agreed.
I mean, that is realistic. That is true.
Oh, that is realistic. Oh, yeah.
Again, what I think would have been cool is if you didn't intro him until there, and Maverick had been this professional, he would have been the ghost of Kiev, where he has this huge reputation because of all the stuff he's done. And then he shows up in this training cycle and kicks everybody's ass versus no one's heard of him. No one knows who he is.
Yeah, I didn't buy that
really
either.
They drag him out of a bar and throw him into the sand. Like, really, dude, you don't know who Maverick is?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's not realistic.
That's not. I mean, he's a
legends
test pilot
in aviation.
They would have known who he was for sure, and everybody would have been buying him a drink at the bar.
100%
at that bar, trying to get stories and
except
stuff.
for Hangman, because he was a mean girl.
Well, he's a mean girl, and he has no redemption. Like, his character arc is mean girl, not mean girl. Like, there was no you can be my wingman anytime, because he just happened to be the dude sitting alert 5 that they launched. Anybody would have done what he did. Like, they did his character such a disservice, and actually not so much his character, but Glenn Powell, the actor, because I think he had the potential to do better.
Yes.
And they didn't give him a lot to work with.
And he's not going to get much long-term notoriety in this movie.
But he's in Devotion. He's in Devotion. Yeah. That is going to be a great movie. I can't wait to see that. I think he's going to be awesome in that. And hopefully they give him more of a range. The girl character, again, was kind of wasted too. They really
yes and no. I mean, yes and no. I know. Well, I know why she's there. That's not the point.
Right.
But I do think that I didn't hate her character. I really didn't. She was actually, in a lot of aspects, in my opinion, just my opinion, a lot of aspects, she is more, not completely, but more your typical fighter pilot. Like, she was very middle of the road. She was very like, this is what we're going to do. She was good at her job.
Except for
other than the fire. But that, I didn't even understand that whole scene, to be honest with you, because she was pushing some of the right buttons.
She did. She did go through some of the procedures correctly.
Yeah. And then did it burn through? I didn't even keep up with it. Like, why didn't it go out? There's a procedure.
Apparently,
for that.
she did the fire. She did the fire procedure on one of them. Yeah. And then the other one caught on fire too. And so she had a dual engine, and then she shut them both down and was surprised when she lost control.
Yeah.
So she starts like, which the Hornet OCF procedures, but the whole initial thing, like, she hits the bird and then climbs up. Now, granted, you could say get away from the formation since for whatever reason they're in fingertip. But there's no asymmetric thrust in the Hornet like other aircraft. So you're not going to just roll out of control just because you lost an engine. So,
well, and technically, just by sucking birds, she hasn't lost the engine yet. She still has thrust on that motor. Probably
correct.
more.
And especially with it on fire, it's generating all kinds of thrusties out the back.
Yeah.
But
anyway, back to her character. Go ahead.
Well, the writing. I think the actress is fine.
Yeah.
Fine. But the writing... Like, no fighter pilot that like we police our own, right? And if somebody were in a bar and says we're the best of the best, who's going to teach us?
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude! I can't imagine somebody saying that, and no one else being like, "Who are you? Like, what do you, you know?" Especially a top tier
Well,
graduate.
and we've had these discussions on your channel. I don't want to get you canceled, so I'll be careful how I say this. But we've had these discussions on your channel where people are like, when you talk about mishaps, where you
Yeah.
don't know the information, it's like, oh, I heard it was a girl. Well, who cares? It doesn't matter, right? Because to you and I, green, red, white, black, yellow, purple, female, male, whatever they decide to be, if you could do your job, and you can fly on my wing or I'll fly on yours, I don't care, right? That is,
Yeah.
well, but then Hollywood goes and puts lines like that on her, and it almost emphasizes,
Yeah.
and it almost ruins it for that, because it's like, dude, if that was a guy who said that, like, people would be like, what? So it's like, why did you have to put that on the female character? Because nobody would.
That's
say
exactly what I'm talking about. And then you stack on top of that, she's the one that is the only one that crashes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you crash a jet, you're not
You're
going to
done.
combat.
No.
You're done. It's it. You've lost the edge. I mean, that's it.
Yeah. Agreed.
That whole thing, she's not going to be, especially when Hangman didn't crash a jet and was right there. So he would have moved up. He'd have been the next up.
But he was single seat, and they needed a 2-seat.
If only they knew how to fly both. If only
I would argue if
pilots.
only both could do the same mission. But,
now, speaking of the mission, that part was cool. I mean, lasing on a diving delivery is tough.
No joke.
It is a real thing. Buddy lasing is a real thing. I thought that was clever. I thought that was now exaggerated for Hollywood. Yes, not all that realistic, but I thought some of the basic concepts. They're talking Deadeye.
I did like some of that.
Lose his track. Yep. The comm was right. The laser codes, all that stuff was cool, and just the premise was off. And it's like, you're dropping a GB-24. Dude, drop that thing from.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to do that with that weapon, or any weapon, because they just tried hard to give them. A friend of mine said that this was a movie about the Navy making something easy harder than it needs to be.
Yes,
and that's true, and that's realistic, because they'll make something that's a very simple problem into this. Holy crap, we're going to have to do it, 680 knots at 100 feet, which is cool, but not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just throw a spitball in there. I don't know if maybe if it had been an Air Force movie, if we'd have just been straight and level, everybody would have gotten a letter of reprimand at the end.
Is that?
I don't know where that comes from.
I don't know. That's interesting. Can you really say you've had a career if you haven't gotten a letter of reprimand? I don't look at Maverick.
So.
Everybody's got a little bit of Maverick in them, so to speak.
Yeah, look at yeah. Maverick's plan was a little bit off, but he's the mission commander. I'll let him do it. He's going to do, if you want to pull, if you want to go in with the idea that you're going to over-G the jet from the beginning, who am I to judge?
True.
They got the detail right, though. They were paddling off the G limiter.
They were.
So that's a real thing. That's a good detail. They got the G, and every time they did something like that, they came back in the next scene and explained why it was dumb. Like the G limit thing, hey, you over-G'd the jet. We're probably never going to be able to use this again. I thought was really good. I'm not sure why 2 admirals are debriefing a training rule violation for a hard deck bust. Don't know why.
I'm not sure why 2 admirals are even there. I mean, the skipper of Top Gun is a post-command tour. So, I mean,
well, they weren't at Top Gun.
I know
they
they
went
weren't,
to Top Gun.
But my point
these were the admirals in charge of the mission. The mission that can only be
admirals around that we just put admirals
it's
2 and 3 star.
This is a very high value target that only could be done by these 4 jets because we can afford no other. Dude, this is the sequestration. That makes sense. It's sequestration.
Make sense.
We only have 4 Hornets. We don't have any seed.
Yeah, we only F-35
have 4
is hard
broke.
Yeah, we have
That's
4
what they
pilots
should have
that are
done.
current.
Instead of this GPS jamming, they should have been like, look, fellas, the Top Gun guys, they just graduated the class. They're the only ones that are still current. They're the only ones that have CQ'd in the last 6 months. F-35 is hard broke for something else. And we have no Air Force seed assets in the region.
Fair enough. I'll buy it.
Okay.
That's actually the most realistic storyline I've heard so far.
Yeah. All right. Budget cuts. And that's why the 2 admirals are the mission commander and the deputy mission commander overseeing the captain. That's why we're so rank heavy, because
and it even makes sense why they're at a North Island going to the desert, because it's a quick jaunt compared to flying to that same target from Fallon.
And all the 04s. Listen, the reason there's no 04s in the movie is because they've all gone to the airlines. So you've got Maverick, who can't get a job. You've got these admirals that are career guys, and then a bunch of 03s because they're still on their commitment.
Yeah.
Dude, there you go. The alternative
I think
theory
we just
is
fix this for Hot Shots part whatever. It's up to
the
you.
alternative theory, however, is that Maverick dies when he turns into a pink mist and the rest of it's just a dream.
Yeah, I don't. Do you dream after you die?
I've never died that I'm aware of. So
I'll let you know. Let's update this channel when it happens to one of us.
I will haunt this channel like you read about. If and
some
when
would say you already do.
I do. I ruined Mover ruins Mover's channel.
That would be pretty cool. Actually.
Wombat. What's the Wombat score?
What's the scale?
Whatever you want it to be. The points don't matter, and nobody's keeping score. Mine is 6.9, but it's out of 8, which I think if you do that higher level math, that's like an 8 out of 10 or 7 something out of 10. Hold on, let me calculate this thing. 6.9 divided by 8 is an 0.86. So it's an 8.5 out of 10. 8.6 out of 10.
Okay.
That's what I'm giving it.
You're giving it an 8.6 out of 10.
Yep. It's not a 9 and it's not a 10. You can't, I don't think it can be. Like, I enjoyed the movie. I left with a rah-rah feeling. I want to go fly jets again. I was really sad that I don't get to fly jets anymore, but I think it could have been better. I think it could have fixed some stuff, some plot construction stuff, some character development stuff. And then obviously when we go to Mover Ruins movies, there's some attention to detail stuff that could be fixed.
Agreed.
Now, when I do Mover Ruins movies, it doesn't mean I don't like the movie. You know, I think people misunderstand our profession, where we'll go in the debrief and tear a sortie apart, and it'll still be like, hey, that was a success.
Yep.
Like, because, dude, there's always stuff. There's always something, you know. I mean,
never a perfect flight. Never.
No. Anyway, back to your number. Whatever number you want, you can make it out of whatever. I don't care. This is your moment, Wombat.
8.75 out of 10. Could have been a 9.5 out of 10 with the right advisors.
Okay. All right.
That's my theory.
All right. Well, go check out Thrustmaster and the promo code in the description. Check out Folds of Honor. Check out Wake for Warriors. Wombat's a charity of choice. Thanks for watching. Leave your opinion in the comment. I know you will. Please let me know how much I'm wrong and how there was never any CGI and Tom Cruise personally flew the aircraft.
All of the aircrafts.
All of the aircrafts. Every single one of them. And how we're just a couple, what are we, washed up fighter pilots who wish we're jealous of the...
So true.
By the way, I am jealous. I want to fly.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a secret that I want to fly. Wombat, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody, thanks for watching. See you next time.